So two surprising things that you can write home about. The first being entanglement, which was erased. Second being we can no longer reliably determine states by measurements in the most general case. So for the rest of the time, I want to tell you more about the third postulate because there's some special cases that we often consider. So chapters 2.2.5 and 2.2.6 are going to be about these special cases about measurements, which we often use. The first one is going to be 2.2.5, which is about projective measurements. Projective measurements. And we've already seen some examples of this, but let me formally define it. So a projective quantum measurement is still a measurement. So I have a collection of measurement operators m sub m such that they satisfy the completeness relation. But we impose a special condition on the measurement operators, that of them being orthogonal Hermitian projectors. So this means where each of the measurement operators mm satisfy the following conditions. One, they're Hermitian. And then two, they are orthogonal projectors. So the way this is written in the book and the way I'll write it is that the product of mm with mm prime, so two different indices, m and m prime, is equal to delta m, m prime. This is the Kronecker delta. This is equal to 1 if and only if m equals m prime. Otherwise, it's equal to 0 times the measurement operator m sub m. So again, this is just the orthogonality condition. These are only non-zero if the indices are the same, in which case it's the measurement operator m sub m. So we often use the symbol PM for MM in this case, P to emphasize projector. Okay. The completeness relation becomes simply the sum over M of P sub M is equal to identity. Why is that? It just follows from this. So Hermitian and the product of two of them with the same index is just the single measurement operator P sub M itself. So again, we've seen several examples of this. One example is a valid projective measurement is the following measurement operators, 0, 0, 0 outer product 0, and 0 outer product 1. This is a valid quantum measurement, and furthermore, it's a projective quantum measurement because we have orthogonal Hermitian projectors for all of the measurement operators. This is one that we care a lot about in quantum computing. This is called a computational basis measurement. Computational basis measurement. When you're working on a quantum computer, most quantum computers, these are actually the only measurements that you're allowed to perform, these measurement operators on every individual qubit. Okay? So you can transform into any other measurement that you want via unitary operations. We'll get to that. But just procedurally, you can imagine experimentally it's very difficult to implement an arbitrary quantum measurement. So there's one that we fix. This is the usual one, with qubits at least. And then we can get other ones by transformations within the circuit itself. So once we have a projective measurement, we can define another very important concept in quantum mechanics and quantum information, that of an observable. So an observable is nothing more than a Hermitian operator. For our observable today, I'm going to use, I guess, just capital M. So this means that M dagger is equal to M. Why are we calling this an observable, and why is this the case that matters? So observable is referring to something that you can actually observe in an experiment. So you're in a lab, you make a measurement, and what you get out is going to be always a real number. This condition is enough to guarantee that. So let's see why that is. So if we're in a lab and I measure something, which means that I compute the quantity psi m psi, this better be a real number, which is to say that its complex conjugate is equal to itself. Does everyone agree this guarantees it's real, right? This is just saying that the imaginary part is 0. The complex conjugate flips the sign of the imaginary part. So the only number that's equal to its negative is 0. Okay? So this is just saying that this is the condition that we need in order to guarantee that the quantity is real. So let's suppose now that we have a Hermitian M. So if this is true, then let's see how we can rewrite this. Psi m star is going to be equal to, I'm going to claim that this is psi m psi dagger. Would you agree with this? There's a few ways to see this. This is just a number. You could consider that a 1-by-1 matrix if you want. So I could take the Hermitian conjugate of that matrix, and then the Hermitian conjugate is going to transpose, which is going to do nothing, and then it's going to take the complex conjugate, which is the same as doing the complex conjugate here. Okay? So this is fine. I can write this. Now, furthermore, I can put the dagger on the inside, psi m dagger psi. Why am I allowed to do that? Well, formally what I did was I flipped the order of this expression, and I took the dagger of each operator in the expression individually. Okay? It's just that psi ket is exactly psi bra. M dagger, I left the dagger there, and then psi bra is exactly psi ket. So we just use this principle of what it means to take the Hermitian conjugate of a product of operators. And it just works out to be this by virtue of the psi, ket, and bra being on both sides. Now, let's just use our assumption that this is Hermitian, so that this is psi m psi dagger, and therefore this is a real number as long as m is Hermitian. Since m is Hermitian, it's actually a normal operator. Which means, remember, what? Normal operator is one which commutes with its adjoint. If it's self-adjoint, if it's Hermitian, then of course it's going to commute. It's equal to that. So anything Hermitian is a normal operator, and therefore by the fundamental theorem of linear algebra, the spectral theorem, we have a spectral decomposition, m being equal to, here I'm going to write it as a sum over m, with m being the eigenvalue and pm being the outer product between the ket eigenvector and the bra eigenvector. Do you see that? Before we were writing this as, well, in a few ways, but all equal to this. This is exactly the same as being equal to, sum over, how were we writing it before? Lambda I. All I did was I called the eigenvalue m, and then I called the outer products of the eigenvectors p sub m. Okay? This is just the eigen decomposition, though. You can imagine why I'm writing it in this way, though. It's because I want to think about this as a projective measurement. So this is where I get to finally prove to you why the expression we wrote for the expectation value in quantum mechanics is the correct one. So let's do that for the final thing today. So recall Or because formally it's not a prerequisite for the class, let me define it for you, that in probability, the expected value of a random variable, which I'll write for now as capital X. And remember, we use a couple equivalent notations for this. You might see it as X bar for the average. You might see it with these angled brackets. And this is always a sum over m, the probability of getting outcome m, times whatever the outcome is. Remember our example, you flip a coin, there's two outcomes with some probabilities, and I give you $1 if it lands on heads. Right? It's just this expression for the average value. Let's see what this, we're going to use the same definition in quantum now. Let's see what it works out to. So in quantum, the expectation value is going to be defined for a observable, the expectation value of an observable. So I'm going to have a Hermitian operator here. And it's going to be the same definition. So sum over m, probability of outcome m, times whatever the outcome m is. Because, well, let me write a few steps here. So the probability of getting outcome m goes back to our third postulate. The third postulate says that the probability of getting outcome m, with respect to whatever state we're in, remember it's always with respect to a given state, is what? It's psi, dagger, psi. But we have a Hermitian operator, which means that it's a weighted sum of projective measurements. So in this case, it's just a PM here. Does everyone agree? So I just use the postulate 3 for the case of projective measurements to substitute in what the probability of getting outcome m is. Now I'm just going to use the linearity principle, which is I'm going to realize that psi doesn't depend on the summation index n. So I can write this as psi sum over m of m p sub m times psi, the summation over m in parentheses in the middle. And this is exactly the eigendecomposition for the measurement operator m. So now you see formally why the average value of an operator, a Hermitian operator, observable in quantum mechanics, is nothing more than this inner product bra psi operator m ket psi.